Exodus in 1990. Personally, you'll hear their stories. We have Swapna Raina, who's going to go first, and Archana Kokuru, and then Sachin Cole. So can we get Swapna on the floor?
Congresswoman Ishu, Congressman Khanna. I've written all names. Hopefully I'll not mispronounce. If I do, my apologies up front. Congresswoman Zoe Laughlin and Congressman Mike Thompson. Distinguished members of U.S. Congress, ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to all of you. I'm deeply honored by the opportunity to address you this evening. Thank you for opening the doors of the United States Capitol and giving us indigenous Kashmiris a platform to tell our stories and make our voices heard. Thank you. I wish I could also say that it's a privilege to speak on the topic, personal stories of victims. I hope and pray that no more people have to narrate their personal losses because of terrorism and genocide like my community has faced. After finding out that I'll be speaking at Capitol Hill, my immediate gut feeling reaction was, do I want to speak? Do I want to talk about what we went through and face the pain and backlash that it may bring with it? But I decided it was worth it. My voice was worth it. Voices of all the victims is worth it. I wanted to make sure that my speech was clear and to the point, and hope that I'm able to convey my message without letting my emotion get the best of me. How does one appropriately capture in words all the pain, agony, and suffering that myself and all of my community has gone through in mere 4 or 5 minutes? When we are asked to give proof for atrocities committed to our community, I freeze in time and say, really? Are you for real? My own grandfather was shot dead in broad daylight, making him the second targeted killing of my community. What was his fault? His fault was that he stood by his principles and his beliefs that he grew up with, stand by the truth no matter what. I'm not sure of how many of you know who Maqbool Butt is. Maqbool Butt was a Kashmiri separatist and co-founder of a political organization active both in Pakistani-administered and Indian-administered Kashmir. And this organization was recently banned by Government of India for supporting extremism and militancy and indulging in anti-national activities. Neelkant Ganju. Give me a second, I'll get it together. Daddy Ji, as we all the grandkids lovingly called my grandfather, was a High Court judge in Kashmir. I got it. As a session court judge, he presided over the hearing of Maqbool Butt and his accomplice for the murder of a police constable, and he sentenced both of them to death for the crimes they had committed. My memories from November 4th, which is right around the corner, 1989, still send shivers down my spine. I clearly remember the day when Daddy Ji, walking back from High Court after work, was surrounded by 3 gunmen in broad daylight and shot at point-blank range. When he fell to the ground, nobody came to help him. In fact, can you believe it? People rejoiced. They started dancing. Our own neighbors who lived with us all our lives, were out on the streets in thousands of numbers, shouting, "We have avenged Maqbool Butt's death." They started chanting pro-Pakistani slogans and waving Pakistani flags. A few handful who wanted to help him were scared to do so, as anyone who was even thinking of helping him was threatened to meet the same fate as my grandfather. Several hours later, few people picked Daddy G and took him to the hospital with no compassion and humanity, which seemed to have died at that very moment for me when I heard that. They dropped him on the floor of the hospital lobby. We do not know if he received medical attention. Could he been saved if he had gotten medical attention in time? So many more questions popped up in our mind. A few weeks back, some of my questions were answered that finally provided me and my family some comfort. I received a message from Dr. Surinder Kaul, who happens to be in the audience today. In his message, Dr. Kaul said he was the doctor at the hospital on November 4th when my grandfather was left on the floor of the hospital and nobody was there. This young doctor then, still looking young, Surinder, did not know the identity of the victim. Victim, ironically. That was the identity that my grandfather, my role model, my idol's identity was reduced to, a victim. After determining that there was nothing else that Surinder could do or the medicine could do for my grandfather, he managed to move him from the floor onto the stretcher for some respect. He held him in his lap. And removed his shirt to inspect the wounds. He recalled at least 3 bullets falling to the floor, one after the other, a sound he says he will never, ever forget. And I personally will never forget the day terrorists killed my grandfather and our world seemed to come to a standstill. Even today, 30 years later, I stand still every time I'm reminded that the people responsible for the gruesome killing of my grandfather are out there free, enjoying their life, and I hope that justice is served. Thank you so much for listening, for your time and your attention.